Hi, welcome to Journey into Parenting. So I'm really excited to have Rachel Mason here today, and she's a singer-songwriter, and she also runs workshops for women who've recently had babies to help them through that process. And I think it'd be really awesome, Rachel, to just talk about the transition from being, from non-parent to parent, and what we can do better to help women to make that transition successful. Be curious.
Yeah, it's a weird journey, isn't it? I think anything you think motherhood is before it happens to you is generally not what it's like.
Okay.
So I didn't think I was a particularly maternal person. I teach my students and I adore them, but I didn't think I would be a very capable mum. But then as soon as my daughter was born, I absolutely loved her. As soon as I knew I was pregnant with her, I was completely in love with her. So that's what I found so hard, that I was just adored her, but was struggling so much with postnatal depression and anxiety that the two felt like they shouldn't belong together. And I always thought that if I had postnatal depression, it would mean that I couldn't attach to my baby, and I'd really struggle with that kind of bonding. But I didn't struggle with that, so I didn't admit it for a long time, because I thought there must be something wrong with me if I was having these difficult mental health feelings but still loved my child. So and no one had really talked about that. We go to antenatal classes, and we prepare for the birth, and we prepare for like how to change a nappy and how to bath a baby, and what they should have in their room and in their cots and things. But the kind of mental health side of it, of how you might feel after you've given birth, isn't talked about as much.
Yeah. And
I remember saying to the lady who did our NCT classes, and she was lovely, she covered all the things that they're supposed to cover. And after we'd all had our babies from our group, I remember saying to her, do you think it might be a good idea to sort of cover the mental health side of it, and actually how the dads feel as well, because sometimes they really struggle with a traumatic birth. They're quite kind of traumatized by it all, but haven't got anyone to talk to and things. And she said, yeah, we thought about adding that into the classes, but people are so focused on the birth, they just don't listen to anything that might happen after you've given birth.
Yeah.
So I understand her point, but then suddenly you've got this baby and your hormones are all over the place, and it's difficult then to reach out for help if you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, it would be amazing if we lived in a world where there was a kind of a package of care that extended kind of beyond the birth and kind of helped people to make that transition, because actually I think you need a lot more support than you think you do. And something that I've done is that I've had a friend that I just phone up once a week, and we just kind of share with each other how we're feeling. And actually even having that support can make a huge difference, just somebody to simply listen to you, and someone that you can build a kind of relationship of trust with over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's someone you can be honest with, because after you've had a baby, people want to hear you say, oh, I'm so happy and I've got the best baby ever, and people want that kind of response from you. I felt anyway, and I'm kind of, I put my kind of actress head on and kind of just go, oh yeah, everything's great, really enjoying it, it's wonderful. And I was getting, the more I was doing that, the further I was getting away I was getting from actually asking for help, because everybody thought I was fine, and I wasn't. And even to the point I didn't really tell my husband how I was feeling, and my mum and my really close friends. I just didn't say anything. And after I sort of admitted I had postnatal depression a few months later, a lot of them said, yeah, I could tell there was something wrong, but I knew you wouldn't want to tell us, so we didn't want to push you to saying anything. It was like a very fragile shield I'd built up, which wasn't really helping anybody. But it's a weird time. You do need that support, and it's important to be able to know you've got somebody to talk to. So that's great that you've got a friend you can do that with. Even now your son's much older, you've still got
Yeah.
that support. That's really good.
Yeah, definitely. I think probably as humans, we all need that kind of support, really, because it's, you know, like I guess there are always challenges that come up in life. But yeah, I think it's interesting when you talk about that kind of cultural pressure for things to look a certain way, or, you know, to look like I'm a capable mother who's, you know, got all the balls in the air and I've got it all sorted out, kind of thing.
Yes.
But actually, like, how refreshing it can be when you kind of admit, actually, I'm finding this really hard. And then often that can be an invitation for other people to reveal that they're finding it hard as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I found. And yeah, I felt like I needed to keep it all together, because I was bizarrely, I was asked to do a TV show when Layla was only, I think she was 8 weeks old, so she was tiny. I was still covered in vomit, and you know, you are in the early days, you're just disgusting all the time. And yeah, I was asked to be a judge on this TV show for Sky One, and I initially said no, because I was like, I've just had a baby, there's no way I'd be able to go to London for a week, because I'd need to bring her with me, and it just wouldn't work. And they said, so we really want you. So my husband ended up coming as well and looked after Layla, because I'd finished breastfeeding then, it hadn't gone brilliantly well, so she was on a bottle by then, so he could take her off and do things, and I went off and filmed at the studio. And so to the rest of the world, it seemed like I had it all so together. I was there on television with full hair and makeup and talking to celebrities and things, and had just had a baby. And so yeah, lots of my friends were like, oh my goodness, you've just got it together, haven't you? And I was going, because I thought, I can't admit, at that point I was too fragile to actually admit there was a problem, but I really was struggling. And yeah, you're absolutely right. When I finally sort of admitted it and said to my friends and to my sort of people who follow me on Facebook and Instagram, like how I've been feeling, so many people I knew and people I didn't know and things got in touch and said, yeah, I felt exactly the same. And so good to know that you're doing okay now, and that you got help, but that you're going through the same things. And it was it was just so refreshing, to be honest. That's one of the best things that happened, actually, was what I thought would possibly destroy me was finally admitting it and going for help and being honest. I thought that would kind of damage me and my relationships with people, but it didn't. It was the complete opposite, and it made the relationship so much stronger, and it opened up a whole new kind of avenue of work for me, because I had experience in postnatal depression and anxiety and postnatal psychosis to some extent, and so women were quite happy to talk to me about their experiences, because they knew I understood I was exactly the same as them.
Yeah, it's amazing that paradox of actually by sharing your vulnerability, you not only allow people in, but also kind of validate the experience that they're having as well, because I think, you know, the majority of us are struggling on some level, but I think you know, I've had to overcome a lot of kind of mental health stuff. Like before my son was born, I was diagnosed with severe attachment trauma, which kind of manifested as sort of depression and self-loathing. And I became a single parent like during towards the end of my pregnancy. So I've had a lot to
that's a lot to handle.
But I sort of, at this point, do you know Hannah Gadsby, the comedian?
Yes.
Okay, I really love her show, and there's a place in it where she says there's nothing stronger than a broken woman who's rebuilt herself, and I really resonate with that now, because actually, like, when you've been into those incredibly dark spaces, you actually emerge with a lot of resilience. So that's been my experience, and now like, horrible experience this weekend of somebody trolling me on social media and posting really horrible abusive stuff, and I feel like, wow, a couple of years ago that would have destroyed me, and now I'm like, oh, if somebody said some nasty things, they don't stick on me, because actually, you know, I know myself, and I've built that resilience.
Amazing. And what a brilliant example you are for your son. So, because kids always go through different things, and he'll know that if he's going through something really hard, he can talk to you because you've been there. You've not had this perfect life, because it's always harder to have those conversations with people who have no experience of heartbreak or depression or anything like that, because they just don't. They can sympathise, but they can't empathise, and it's that's quite different. So I think it makes you a better mum, the more kind of things you go through. And if
I don't like it when he's suffering. It's really, really hard.
No.
I kind of know that actually just being present with him is is a gift, actually, because I can help him to build that resilience. I'd love to hear more about so what was your journey like? How did you get from there to where you are now?
In terms of my mental health, or with
well, the whole thing. I'm just kind of curious about how you got from your difficult experience to then starting the project that you're running with women.
Okay. So while I was going through the kind of worst bits of my postnatal depression, where I hadn't really talked to anybody about it, the only thing that would help in any way was for me to write song lyrics, because I've always been a songwriter. I do that as part of my job. So I would just write lyrics down in my phone or on a pad of paper, just about how I was feeling, or because my moods would change very quickly. So I'd be very fearful, then I'd suddenly be very angry or very upset. So I'd just be crying for seemingly no reason. And so actually writing things down in a kind of poetic form seemed to really help me. And I didn't really do anything with they just stayed as individual bits of lyric. And then so that was when Layla was only sort of 5 or 6 months old. And then we had Elias the following year. So he was born 18 months after Layla was born. And I had postnatal depression, which shouldn't have been a surprise, but I was disappointed in myself, really, that it had come back again. I was like, oh no. But this time I actually straight away said, I'm really struggling. Spoke to the health visitor and the midwives who were in hospital with me, told my husband and my mum and close friends, and I went to the doctor, got brilliant advice and lots of help, and was put on antidepressants, which I really needed to just sort of balance things out, and had some counselling. And the whole experience was different. I think I probably even had worse postnatal depression with my second child. It just seemed to hit me like this wall. It was awful. But it was easier to manage because I had that structure of support, and I could say to my husband, I don't feel great today, and he would just come alongside me and support me, and would look after our daughter, who was then sort of 18 months. They'd go off and do something if I was really struggling, which was amazing. And as I started to feel kind of stronger and sort of like I was coming through it, I then wrote a social media post about postnatal depression things, and loads of people got in touch, like just ridiculous numbers of people. And one of the things they said is, could you write a song with me that might help me kind of feel better about what I've come through, so I'll have something I can look at to be really proud of. And so I said, yeah, sure. So I started just working with a few individuals. So they'd come over, we'd have tea and cake, and they'd bring their kids and they'd all play together. And we would talk about kind of our experiences, and everybody's got similar things, but then different experiences too. So we talk about different feelings and different things that helped, and and talk through it all in a really safe space with people who understood. And then together we'd kind of form it into song lyrics and write a song, which became someone termed it their anthem for wellness. And I was like, that's cool, I like that term. So people often send a picture to me of their framed lyrics on their wall in their bedroom or something, which is lovely. It's just amazing that really helped them. And then charities started getting in touch, so Pandas and Mothers for Mothers, and lots of big charities that support women with postnatal depression started getting in touch. So I started running courses at their sessions for them, which was a massive honour to be able to help and listen to so many people and their stories and how much they've been through. And So yeah, that was what I was doing a lot last year, which just felt incredible by the end of the year to think, goodness me, at the beginning of this year, I was, beginning of 2019, I still had bad postnatal depression. And by the end of the year, I felt pretty good. And all these songs had come out of it. It was just amazing. And then obviously this year, I haven't been able to do an awful lot of that yet because I can't meet with anybody because we're in lockdown. But I'm writing a song for Pandas, the charity, because they're struggling for funding at the moment, and a lot of women who've just had babies during the coronavirus outbreak are really struggling because they don't have that network of people. Like, I really needed my family and my friends, and these poor women have nobody. In some cases, if they're a single parent, they just have no one. They're just at home on their own with a baby, and so mental health is taking a huge kind of nosedive for a lot of them. And so they need a lot more support, and Pandas just don't have the finances for it. So I'm doing what I can to support them in the absence of me doing any workshops, because I can't really, do that at the moment. And also I've got to look after my children all the time because we can't get any childcare because no one else is allowed in. So that's been a bit strange because I had lots of money raised to do a lot of the courses this year, and they're just sort of on hold at the moment. But yeah, as soon as I'm allowed, I'll be getting back to doing that.
That's great. And it was just kind of coming into my mind how actually I was listening to Stephen Porges yesterday, who he came up with something called Polyvagal theory about how we regulate our emotions, and he was talking about how, like, actually we're relational beings, like we've kind of evolved in tribes and communities, and so we need each other actually to regulate our emotions. And I've also found like writing's incredibly helpful way of self-regulating, because it's almost like having a friend there to talk to,
Yeah.
like how kind of ordering your thoughts and getting them out there on paper. It's sort of almost the next best thing to having someone who's there to talk you through and support you what's going on. So combining those two things together, I can see would be really powerful. And also that kind of creative element, because I'm an artist as well, and I found that that it's just really helped me throughout my entire journey, because my main project I've worked on is making performances in woodland, and the show would always be like to some degree about what was going on for me on a kind of mental health level, and I found having a sort of mythic framework to put around those struggles was really helpful, because in all of the traditional tales, the hero kind of goes off into the deep dark forest, and at some point they hit despair, like they get to a point where they're in the ashes or they're down in the underworld, and they give up and they don't think they're going to emerge from that place. And whenever I'm in the depths of despair, I kind of remind myself of those stories, because actually at some point the main character does emerge from that deep dark place, and when they emerge, there's more lightness and brightness within them than there was at the beginning of the story, and so they've got more to bring back to the village and more to offer. And I think that kind of simple sort of hero's journey framework is actually a really beautiful way of kind of looking at our own lives.
Yeah, absolutely. It's everywhere, isn't it, that journey? Even in the Bible and things, there's so many characters that go through points like that and have something to learn through that journey. And in Disney films, even like Moana is exactly that story, where she goes off and kind of finds herself through this journey. My daughter loves that film, and I think it's because she comes back and she's stronger, and she's learnt something about life that she wouldn't have learnt if she hadn't left her village. So there's a lot of I think you're absolutely right, and that kind of universal message, and how much we learn from each other, and how much we need to go through these things. And there's if it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger thing, which is thrown around a lot, but actually it's pretty true.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sort of doing some research at the moment because I'm thinking about doing a PhD on this kind of subject, like the transition from kind of non-parent to parent, and sort of looking at it from a psychology perspective. But I also want to look at other cultures and find out, you know, what kind of rituals and practices have been used that help with that process. I think could be really interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting, because it's in different cultures. There's very much it takes a village to raise a child, which is we don't do as much in the UK because we're a little bit more British and we're, you know, a bit standoffish. But in sort of African cultures, particularly, they're all quite, the whole village is involved in the raising of a child. And you think actually you do need that, because parents haven't got all the skills, and particularly when you're a parent for the first time, we don't really know how to do anything, do we? I'm surprised that my kids are still alive sometimes. I'm like, I don't know what I was doing. I can't keep a pot plant alive. But my kids seem okay. But yeah, you need advice, you need support, you need, you know, in the middle of the night when your baby's crying and it doesn't want any milk and it won't sleep and you don't know what's wrong. We turn to the internet nowadays.
Yeah.
But and so that can be really helpful. But yeah, I guess traditionally you'd have people around who would support you, who had experience being a mother and supporting mothers, and there would be that structure. And
and in some way, kind of, I'm curious about bringing in an element of kind of ritualization, or I experienced giving birth as a kind of like a natural rite of passage, you know, that you kind of go through this really intense experience, and you know, you're not sure whether you're going to survive it, or that's how I felt. And so to kind of I don't know, to somehow kind of harness that experience towards building the resilience that you need to then be a mother, because actually, like, being a parent is like, it's kind of like being in service to love. Like, I interviewed a philosopher called Tim Freak recently, and he was talking about parenting from that perspective, that actually, you know, it can be a profoundly almost kind of spiritual experience, because, you know, just out of you know, the love that's overflowing from you, you know, you kind of willingly get up at 3 a.m. to make sure that your baby is fed and, you know, and cared for, and that's a really profound thing, and I think making a space to really value and honor that is important, actually.
Absolutely. I think particularly in sort of current times where women are often expected to work as if they don't have children, and have children as if they don't work, and you're expected to do both perfectly full time, and that's impossible. And so I've learned to kind of cut back on unnecessary things, or things that I could do without, because I actually want to spend time with my children. My work was everything before then. That it was like my baby. As being self-employed is for most people, like, you've created that job and that role for yourself. But yeah, spending time with them is such amazing joy that I never thought I'd want, and I never thought I'd like that much. But just doing little things with them, like painting, and they're like painting with water on the patio at the moment, and they just find it fascinating. They're going for a walk with them, and they point out all the different flowers and things, and it's incredible. And and when people would say, oh my, before I had the kids, they'd say, oh, I was up 5 times in the night, and I just think, I can't imagine myself doing that. I just don't think it's going to happen. And then you just do. When it's your child, you just do, and it's like something gets switched on inside you that gives you that ability to have this overwhelming love for this little person who's screaming and isn't being that nice to you. They're not particularly loving for quite a while. But you still would do anything for them.
Yeah, but just kind of acknowledging that publicly, I suppose, and it's kind of like, actually we're doing so much for our children, and actually it's really important, because we're laying the foundations for the future, for, you know,
absolutely,
generation, and you know, and sort of recognizing that that's, you know, perhaps more important than going out to do a job that earns money, kind of thing, is
it's hard kind of balancing that. But I found I've changed a lot, and my priorities have changed a lot since I've had the children.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't have planned that before, and I couldn't have predicted that, even though people would say, oh, it's different when it's your own kids. I was like, yeah, okay. But yeah, I don't want to go abroad as much and work. I find it quite hard to say yes to work abroad, because I'm like, oh, but I won't see the children. What if they really miss me? And actually, yeah, I don't see that as a weakness now. To begin with, I thought, I just need to work, and I want the kids to see me work, so they know they've got a mum who works as well as their dad. But yeah, actually, I can kind of see it as a strength now, like, that I actually really love them, and I want to be a mum, just do mum things sometimes with them. And it's it's quite a big kind of shift in thinking. But yeah, you're absolutely right, it needs to be honoured, because it's so important, and for their experience of their childhood, to know that they had a mum and or dad who really wanted to be there and do things with them.
And how actually, you know, the gift of our presence is something that's going to stay with them for the rest of their lives, actually, you know, if we can get the early bit right. But I don't advocate that we sacrifice ourselves. Like, I think, you know, like in a functional family, everybody's needs matter. And so, yeah, you know, like, it's definitely really important that we take care of our mental health and take care of our lives as artists, or, you know, carry on doing whatever it is we're passionate about and makes us feel good. So
definitely, yeah. And it's nice for them to see as well that we do cool creative things, and they, you know, I think the kids really like that, seeing that their parents are happy and doing things they love, and it gives them lots of hope for what they want to do in the future.
Yeah,
you can,
totally.
you can be happy and do the job you love, and so it's important to keep that balance.
Absolutely. So just to finish, if you were going to give advice to anyone who's expecting their first child, what would you say to them?
Gosh, oh, that's tricky. I think, look, obviously do the classes and things, prepare for the birth. We did hypnobirthing, which was amazing, really helped us keep really calm. But also look into the kind of the way you might feel. You might be absolutely fine afterwards, and some people have baby blues, which is fairly mild, but sometimes it can become something else. So it's worth just having a look at that, or talk to a health visitor or someone about it, just to kind of prepare yourself, so that, not to scare you, but so that if it happens, you're not terrified that you're going crazy or anything. So you can just go, oh, okay, that's probably this, and that's normal. So it's just, I think looking at the mental health side of it, just to give yourself a bit of a heads up, just in case.
Yeah, great, thank you. Well, it's been a really great conversation. So I'll post in the what do you call it, the bit below.
Description or something.
I'll post links to all of the courses that Rachel's offering, and also to her songwriting material as well, her songs. And I've just published a book called Balanced Parenting and Other Circus Skills, and it's it's designed as an 8-week course to prepare people for parenthood. So it doesn't focus on birth, it focuses on kind of all the other aspects of being a parent, and looking at your relationship with your partner and how to kind of make that into a beautiful space to bring your child into. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Pleasure.